Welcome to the Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man. Live from Studio C at media stations in Bohemia, New York.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Power Hour with Lisa. Smile, Lisa. Say hello.
Hello, hello. And Norman.
And the Music
You're
Man.
back.
I am back.
Yes, the Music Man is back.
Last night I had mentioned that I had an eye operation. I was wearing sunglasses, and I'm still involved in that operation. But it was so painful to wear those sunglasses and try to read and such that I'm doing. So please excuse if you see some soreness around the eyes. It's there. It's not your camera. So I appreciate your coming back and watching us go through this. A little note that I want to mention. I mentioned it to Lisa because Lisa was originally from Long Island before she moved to Pennsylvania, where she is now. And I asked her about how familiar she was with a town out here called Farmingdale. Well, she said, very. I said, well, I'm sure you didn't hear about this, but today there were 6 busloads of 13, 14, 15-year-olds that were leaving Farmingdale, Long Island, New York, to go to Greeley, Pennsylvania. They were a member of the band of Farmingdale High School. And on the way there, one of the 6 buses, so it seems, blew a tire. And blew a tire and went over, not an embankment, but went a little bit.
It went down.
They went down.
I saw.
And it turned over. And 2 of the teachers passed away. A couple of the 5 students in this, there were 45 in this particular bus, are in critical condition, and the parents are rushing to go, being able to go from Long Island, which to go up to where they are in upstate New York is about a 2.5-hour ride from where they started.
Yeah.
But the 4 other buses are coming home. And so they're made a U-turn on the way back. So we wish them our prayers, and we hope that everybody is okay.
Yes.
So that's good. It's really sad when you hear something like that.
Definitely. And it's good to see you back with your sunglasses off.
Yeah, by Monday I should be
back
okay.
in your seat.
I got all my stitches in my eyes and stuff like that. My seat I'm in. Whether I can see where I'm sitting is a different story. But we have a guest tonight.
Yes, we do.
And he's also a member of NRG that Lisa and I belong to, and that's where I met Josh Henderson. And Josh Henderson is from First Coast Merchant Services. And good evening and welcome to the Business Power Hour.
Good evening, Norma and Lisa. It's a great time to be with you. I appreciate the opportunity.
And I'm not going to call you Chris tonight.
Why would you call him Chris?
Ever since I met him, I kept on calling him Chris.
Oh, no.
And then he finally said, it's Josh, not Chris. So, Josh, welcome. Good evening. If anybody would like to call in based upon the conversation that we're going to get started with in a second, our number is 631-987-8477, 631-987-8477. Now, Josh, you are in what they call the merchant services business, correct?
Industry, yeah.
All right, tell us, so before you tell us, how did you get into it in the first place? Let's go back in your history.
Yeah.
You lived where, in Alabama?
Yeah, I was originally, and I didn't get into it originally back in Alabama. It wasn't until after I moved, but I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. Moved here back in 2015, and I just decided that I better go ahead and just find work. I always had kind of an itch to look into entrepreneurship, but I knew that I needed to go ahead and find work immediately when I moved. So having done pest control for about 12 years.
12 years you were in pest control?
Yes, I was in commercial pest control. So
what kind of critters did you get rid of?
I'm sorry?
What kind of critters did you get rid of?
Oh, my goodness. You name it. Yeah. Everything from rats to roaches, everything in between. So we handled critters and all kinds of, over the years through a couple of different companies I worked with, we handled quite a few different creepy crawlers, everything from spiders to raccoons, and so just a lot of variety there. But
Well, I'll tell you a little
yeah,
story. I'll tell you a little story. This is
Uh-oh.
back many, many years ago. I'm sitting in my den in Long Island, New York, and I'm watching. It was a Sunday, and I'm watching a football game, and I'm like right in front of the TV set, and to my right happens to be my chimney, all right, for my fireplace. So as I'm sitting over there, I think I see something through the side of my eye, and there was a squirrel waving hi. He was going, hello. So I said, whoa, what's going on here? So I had a splanch type house, which if you're not familiar with it, there's a staircase between the lower level and going upstairs, sort of like two staircases. And I went up to take a look at the chimney, and there were these squirrels going in and going. It was a whole family.
Oh no!
That was sitting in there. So what I did is I tied up the doors on the chimney because they're pretty tough little critters, as you call them. And I called the exterminator the next day, and, we gave them their peanut butter or whatever it was and got them in a cage. One of them didn't want to leave. So we opened up the windows and opened up the front door and the back doors, and eventually the little guy ran out. So that's my story. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's great.
So have you ever had any reptiles or snakes that you had to deal with being in Alabama and Florida?
When you're in Alabama, you grow up around snakes. So that's just kind of a status quo. So you kind of get comfortable with that idea. And, they're like part of the scenery. So, reptiles there pretty much consist of snakes and the lizards in the trees and in the mulch and things of that nature. So it's kind of just a fact of life. But, the difference between here, or where I'm in now in Jacksonville, Florida, and Birmingham, Alabama, where I'm originally from, is we don't hear as many stories about gators in Alabama as we, depending on the part of Alabama you're in now. As you move further south, you hear a little bit more, because you're moving toward the Gulf, and they have their own little pest control stories that are unique to that area. But we have a lot of, mostly snakes in Birmingham back out before I moved, and we also have the lizards there. So those are pretty much.
Were you
on
the water? Were you near the water that you had these kind of reptiles?
In the winter?
The water.
The water, excuse me. Well, not as no. You don't see too many reptiles in the water.
But you do see alligators in the water.
In Birmingham, in that North Alabama area, there's not as many as you might think. We do get the occasional story in some of the bigger lakes and creeks and things of that nature, but it's really not that. It's nothing like here. I've heard probably quadruple the amount of stories I ever heard, and I even experienced seen a couple of gators here that I never saw in real life back in Alabama before moving. So it's an experience.
You had 12 years doing pest control.
Yes, sir. 12 years doing pest control. Moved here back in 2015, and I knew that I wanted to continue. I had a little bit of an entrepreneurial itch, but I needed to continue with what I was currently doing, looking for the right opportunity to start my own business. But I went ahead and decided to just join and apply for another pest control position. Got that with Terminix, and now I've been, I guess I was with them for about 5 years and worked in the area, worked specifically with business owners and commercial pest control. So it was a real eye-opening experience. To see the variation of bugs and critters here in Florida versus Alabama.
It's a big contrast, I know.
Then you woke up one day and say, "Hey, I'm going to be in merchant services."
Yeah, it's a complete 360, 180, 360, complete turnaround. So I ended up kind of hunting. 2020 hit, COVID hit. It was a situation where I was we were having to do a lot of extra work. It was taking a lot of personal time, and I personally like a balance between work and play. So, personal life and business. And so I kind of fueled my itch to continue. and it really drove me to look for entrepreneurial opportunities. And so I was online one day and just kind of perusing the interweb, as they say, and I ended up chatting with a financial services representative about BNI and doing some networking with them and just getting involved with them. They wanted me to come on as a pest control technician, but I was looking to join after I started my own business. So it turned into a conversation. The financial services industry really kind of grabbed my interest. And so I did some Google searching, and I stumbled across a great group called, it's a teaching platform called Residual Payments. And the Residual Payments is a community, it's RP. If you'll see it, if you Google Residual Payments and look up maybe Dave Carlin and Patricia Carlin, you'll see that they're really the only ones that are doing this thorough of a teaching program for merchant services, really going that extra mile to make sure that they can generate or help business or potential entrepreneurs with an interest in merchant services and to cultivate that into their own business. So we see that, I've seen that just be a tremendous community of support for myself. So I recommend anyone, just a quick shout out, if they want to get into merchant services, take a look at Residual Payments. David and Patricia Carlin do a fantastic job, and they have a great team backing them up. So I just want to give that shout out.
So they educated you completely in the merchant services world.
Completely, because like you were indicated, I was completely green. Mm-hmm. I knew nothing. I have an uncle who's in financial services, and that's about it. That's the extent of what I know about financial services. So it was a complete educational program they provided, and it was just outstanding. I'm still learning. You never really learn it all because there's always changes being made, Mm-hmm. And it's just one of those things that you continue to learn and evolve within the industry. I've had a great time with it.
And that's wonderful that they could do that with you. Now, your services, you're based in Florida, but are your services hyper local or are you nationwide? What's your limitations?
The great thing about it is we partner with banks. We offer a merchant account to our clients. So we partner with banks across the country. So we can do really anywhere. We can serve anyone in the United States, nationwide. I always try to focus on local because I really love the local business, and I really come to love the local business community here in the Jacksonville area. So it's really a refreshing thing to talk to local business owners and see what their ideas are about how they want to improve their business and really cultivate their growth. And so I really enjoy the local business aspect, but we can absolutely work anywhere.
So what do you do to make these people grow? Now, I was in the merchant services business for a short while. I couldn't stand it. It just wasn't for my temperament, and for me, which is fine. Not everything is for everybody. But the one thing that they wanted, everything was percentage rates, which is understandable because that's what it is. And then, you put one against the other in different company, even a fraction of a point, makes a whole lot of difference when you're doing volume. All right. So how do you come up with the what Visa is going to charge and MasterCard and Amex is Amex, but how do you handle that per customer?
Mm.
Well, we basically you look at pricing structures and what we can offer the customer to fit the client, the business owner, to fit their individual need. So we always try to customize the right plan for their individual need. So with that, like you were saying, there's a flat rate structure that you mentioned, and then that flat rate that's flat rate pricing that goes along under that flat rate pricing structure, where you hear people give automatic quotes of 2%,
right,
3%. They throw numbers out, and a lot of times that, to the person who doesn't know any better, sounds like the best plan for them. But
you just said the key thing, they don't know any better. So then they go and they get the next person to come walk through the door, and then that person goes and says, "Oh, you don't want a flat rate. You want to do X."
Absolutely. Well, and I try to always recommend one thing I learned through RP and with the platform, the community that I work with, is that it's best to always go with Interchange Plus.
Correct.
Because if you look at what Interchange is
well, you explain that to everybody.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
You're speaking Greek to the audience that's not in finance.
Exactly. I'll definitely get to that. The Interchange Plus is a totally different pricing structure than flat rate plans. So an Interchange Plus plan is actually put on and set by the card brands. So you could Google interchange rates right now, and then you can see which ones the individual card brands are assigned. Mm-hmm. So they assign the interchange rates. And then from that point on, you can kind of determine what you're going to put on the pricing structure as a merchant service firm to add to that set interchange rate. So you can kind of determine how much you want to add on, say like you're dealing with basis points. An idea for an Interchange Plus would be 20 basis points.
Okay, now again, our clients are not going to know what.
I'm getting there. A basis point would be like you're basically dealing with decibels and percentages. So a basis point would be like 1/100th. So if you were to say basis points, that would be 1/100th of a basis point would be 0.01 or 0.01. That would be so you would say like 50 basis points if you were quoting a pricing structure to a client. You'd say like 20. You could go as high as you want, but it's based on a card brand. You need to look at what the card brands are offering, and then you can add the markup, which would be the transactions on top of that. So you go the transaction fee that you're going to place with every transaction will have a small fee with it. So that's really just the price of doing credit card payments and running cards.
Now, before
so you have that 50,
I'm sorry,
50 basis points. Let's say, for example, you have 50 basis points, and then you add 10%, 50 plus the market plus 10 cents a transaction, for example. I think that would be a pretty common, rate versus the markup. So 50 and 10, and then that is a total encompassing of your Interchange Plus.
All right, but hold 1 second.
So
I call you. Go ahead, Lisa. I'll go after.
I was going to ask.
Okay, so if somebody wants to learn more about what you're offering, how can they reach you?
Well, they can reach me.
Phone number?
A variety of ways.
What's the best phone number?
First Coast Merchant Services. Phone number is 205-873-5435. And then if you want to reach our office, I always recommend you call. The first number there is my cell number, but our office number is 904-872-5591.
Okay.
So again, that's 205-873-5435 is my cell. That's my business cell. You can get me directly anytime. Or you can call our office at 904-872-5591.
Now, with that merchant services, do you have different price points for the clients that you're working with? Like, if it's an online type of servicing versus an in-person where you actually have the card, or also B2B services versus B2C?
Exactly. There are differences, like you mentioned, based on the type of business and how they accept cards. So if they're accepting cards in person, it's going to be a lot, just in layman's terms, it's going to be a lot cheaper to accept that because you're running those cards hand to hand to card reader. That's called an in-person transaction. Mm-hmm. A card present transaction is another term.
Right.
But those are usually going to run between if you're looking at a flat rate pricing plan, between 2.1 and 2.6. They can go as high as 2.6 depending on the type of business. Then you're also going to have the card not present, which is mostly when you're dealing with websites and online businesses that strictly accept payments online. Then you're going to go with the card not, that'd be a card not present situation. Those are usually from a flat rate standpoint, which a lot of people are familiar with. It would usually run between 2.5 and could go as high as 3.3, 3.5, somewhere in there. And it just depends on the business type is really a big deciding factor.
Okay.
Because you're going to have some that are corporations. They're going to be a little higher risk. So we deal with banks, and banks are always dealing with risk and risk assessment.
I want to make this just a little bit simpler because I may understand what it is you're doing, having been in the business. Lisa may understand because she's sort of like in the business. But now the local florist is not too happy with their service. But the pizzeria, a couple of doors down, these guys are friends. And the pizzeria guy says, hey, I just changed. I got this new company. My rates are this. And that. Can I have the phone number? The florist asks for. They get your phone number. They call you up. The first thing that you ask them for is their monthly statements, correct?
Correct. We ask for the statements so that we can get the most accurate savings estimate. Right.
So now you're seeing if they use mostly Visa or American Express, what it is, whether they're getting travel cards. There are so many different things that are in there. So for the person that doesn't understand, takes credit cards. Now, when I was doing it, we would give them a machine. The hook with us is that we were going to actually give them the terminal.
Right.
Okay. And then people, we would plug it in. We would set it up for them, stick in the paper, have receipts, get everything all done. And then we were out the door. It's not like that anymore.
No.
you
Everything
got the
can be
touch
virtual,
screen.
Right?
Exactly.
It can be. I will say that I always try to add a personal touch. That's one thing that I've learned.
Well, that's what makes you a good salesperson.
Right.
But when it comes down to dollars and cents, when they're comparing, Josh is a really good guy, but he's, a 1.5 points higher than Joe Schmo, who I really don't like, but it's going to save me X number of dollars. The average person now that wants going to call you from this show, they're going to want to get an idea of what it's going to take them to hook up with you. What do you need from them, and then how do you proceed?
Well, the average person can call me. We can have a conversation. I'll be happy to explain anything I've talked to you guys about tonight. If they're comfortable with moving forward, we can basically. I usually recommend a Zoom call because Zoom really gets the personal touch. I feel like you and we can see each other now, right?
Right.
So that's the idea. If we can't do a Zoom call, I try to just have an phone or maybe an online chat of some kind. But we're moving forward with getting them an application started, and then we send them an application that's an underwriting application. Like I said before, we work with banks, and those banks have merchant banks provide an application that we have the client fill out. The business client will then completely fill out the application. I'll be happy to assist. I'm always there. I'm just a phone call away or a Zoom call away if we need to help with that. But they fill out that complete application. They turn it in. And then just like you would get a loan from the bank, that application will be reviewed and you'll go through an underwriting process.
Correct.
So, again, I'll be with you to walk you through that entire process. But what that allows you to have is a banking relationship that provides more stable, secure credit card processing than you would get from, say, like a Square.
But if
they're
you're
just known as a payment aggregator, right? Square, they just collect a database, but they don't have any incentives or business credit incentives like you would get with a merchant account that we provide.
But
so
if
it's important to always know where your safest transactions can be, and how you can, process the safest amount. If you've got a high transaction amount, you're processing cards like a big restaurant, perhaps, then you want to always make sure, you're not going to break down. There's not going to be a breakdown in the middle like we saw with Square last week, where there was a total breakdown in their system. I don't want to pick on Square, but that's what happened. You rarely see that with a merchant account.
Right. So when people are going with you, do you usually get their list of or their receipts or invoices before you have a meeting with them so that you can assess it and see which provider or what's
Well, they get the
best
bank
for them?
statement. They get the bank statement, and then from there he's able to.
Right. Well, a bank statement, sometimes a bank statement and a transaction history are separate. So you really need to make sure that you're getting that transaction history. And you also want the bank statements, like you said, Norman. You also want those as well. But you want to make sure that they have at least a few of the important components would be like a bank's transaction history. So your business transaction history, you need the number of transactions they run, their total volume. And from that, our team, being specific to my business, our team will look at that and then determine the right rate plan and fees based on that to save you money versus who you were using.
But you also got to figure in the credit score that's going to come by too, because that could upset the apple cart completely.
Right. Once you get that done, the merchant statement assessment is a cost savings analysis. Once you get that done, then you can move from that point on. And if they want to move forward, if they like the savings we provide, you can go ahead and jump into the application, complete the application, and where their credit score will be required. And then that can be reviewed in the underwriting process. Yeah, but your credit score does come into play. You need to have a decent one in order, just like you would with a loan that you got from the bank or something.
Okay, so now I am curious. What is an interesting story about you and, that you might want to share with the audience tonight?
Personally or professionally?
A little bit of the personal, the business side, with your First Coast Merchant Services, something about that. Was it at the bar or, at the football game? What was that all about?
Oh, well, a lot of times, you're surprised by who shows interest in what you're doing and how that comes about. You could be going through a real dry spell. I remember one time I thought I had a great lead, and it was really one of my very first deals I ever made. It was a business. He said he was a business consultant. And the thing about saying you're a business consultant is that can lead to a variety of different conversations. What is that specifically? What products are you providing? And he ended up just we had a conversation. He ended up saying, "Oh yeah, I'm ready to go with you. I'm ready to go with you." We get all the way through processing. We get it all the way through the underwriting and completed. I get on a deal call with a support friend of mine, and he ends up I end up talking with his assistant, said, "Oh, he didn't show up today."
Oh, shit.
You mean he didn't show up to work? No, he hasn't shown up for the last week. I said, "Well, he's been communicating with me on the cell phone." I was like, "Oh, well, we haven't seen him. He skipped town." Now, that was my assumption, that he apparently had skipped town, and that was his assistant's assumption. So we go through the entire process and then can't even complete it because he has skipped town and ended up being some kind of swindling felon. I think it ended up being some kind of racketeering.
A RICO guy.
Got caught up in all that. Yeah.
Wow.
He got caught up in all that. So you never know who you're going to run into. They may sound legit on the front end, but it's not always the case. So you definitely have to vet. You have to vet these customers. You really do. Or when they say they're a business owner, are they really a business owner, or are they just posing as one to see how far they can get? Right.
Right. Well, yes, we're seeing a lot of that with originally the PPP loans. Look how many felons have been caught for that, and now the ERC is on a pause. And for
Right.
good reason, because there's bad characters involved in it. And now they got to go back and research everybody's application. So we're at the bottom of the hour. Norman, can you believe we're already 30 minutes
It's
through?
crazy. We have to stretch these shows.
Yes. So
longer.
We have to go to break. So we're going to take a few minutes and we'll be right back.
Stay tuned, everyone. Hi, everybody. My name is Norman Wasserman, and next to me is Lisa Rodino. Lisa and I host a TV podcast show called The Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man.
So what does the Business Power Hour do? We are here to talk about you and your business. We will put you on air for 1 hour to highlight your business in front of thousands of viewers worldwide, helping you generate more leads to grow your business.
And we do this every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. right here. What are you doing?
I'm keeping you on point. My name is Lisa Rodino. I am a commercial loan advisor and broker. Have you been finding that your business's cash flow is not where you need it to be? Have you found yourself taking from your personal accounts to meet your business's obligations? Have you found that those quick solutions of quick money are starting to get awfully expensive? My job is to find the right funding products for my clients so they can get back to working in their business and give me the task of finding the best options for their situation. Give us a call today to learn more. 516-268-0350.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Friend Entertainment USA. My name is Norman Wasserman. I am also known as the Music Man. Let me just tell you a little bit about Friend Entertainment. We put on concerts for charities, and we do that everywhere from New York to Las Vegas. We do R&B, Motown, rock and roll, jazz, whatever it is that you wish. Friend Entertainment will deliver the best of the best for you and your charity. Here are some of the names of the talent that have performed with us on our stage. Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, The Temptations, Earth, Wind and Fire, the one and only ELO, Elton John himself, Kool and the Gang, and the fabulous Donna Summer. Go to our website, friendentusa.com. That's www.friendentusa.com, or feel free to call us at 631-698-9696. 631-698-9696, and we'll see you at the next show. Okay, welcome back to the Business Power Hour with Lisa and our guest for this evening, Josh, not Chris, Josh Henderson.
And the Music Man, can't forget him.
Oh, a lot of people would like to forget the Music Man. But, you put into your notes for this evening what I think is a pretty funny story that happened to you in a bar. Do you know the story that I'm talking about when you were talking to this gentleman?
Oh, yes.
Tell everybody. Let's give everybody a chuckle.
Unfortunately, a lot of interesting scenarios happen in a bar. I say unfortunately because a lot of times it happens after a couple of drinks, and as we all do, you end your day. You may stop by a bar and have a drink. And I'm sitting there at the bar myself one day, and I look over and I kind of eavesdropping somewhat. He was speaking loudly, but the guy was having a conversation with the bar owner, where I learned it was the bar owner later. This was my first time at this particular bar, and they were having a conversation, and it kind of seemed like he was really trying to win her over about something. So I listened a little closer, and it ended up being about merchant services. That merchant service representative, as he described himself, was trying to win business. So I ended up having a conversation with the gentleman. I can't recall his name. It's not important now, but he ended up telling me that, he was very interested in learning what we could do for his business. And I said, "Aren't you a merchant service business representative?" And he said, No, well, yes, I am. But I have another business and I don't even use my own product. And I said, what? You don't use your own service? And he said, no. He said, no. I said, their rates are way too high. I said, really? I said, well, that's interesting. I said, I might be just the man you're looking to talk to. I said, if you want to sign your business with me, we can definitely lower. I've never met really an opportunity or that we couldn't lower someone's rates for them. And so it kind of turned into a thing where he was so interested in my merchant services that he forgot to finish his conversation. And the bar owner came up to the bar later, and he was so engrossed in our conversation, she stood there listening to us and walked away because he completely forgot to finish what he was saying with her. So just one of those crazy things that happen at a bar. You end up meeting so many different people of different walks of life, and he just wanted to end up learning about what we provide versus his big box brand that he was representing. So you have the smaller companies that we like to, look at ourselves as a smaller,
hands-on, friendly, personal,
right,
company.
And so a lot of times, like you mentioned before, Norman, that appeals to people. It doesn't necessarily appeal to everyone to go with the first search in a Google merchant service search. That first name that pops up is not always
of course not
the best one.
It's like buying a car or anything else. You don't take the first offer. And you're going to go shop it around a little bit, and that's what it is. If people shop my business, Lisa's business, that's why you
Right. So a lot of funny things happen like that. You end up learning a lot about business owners and what they love and what they don't love, what kind of sales tactics work.
Did you ever pitch your business to Michael?
Michael?
Yeah, Michael Weiner.
Mike Weiner? Yeah, definitely. I've talked with him about it before. I don't know if there's an avenue for us quite yet. We haven't got that far along. But, yeah, I would love to work with Mike. He's a great guy.
He's adding people. He may want to save some money on his processing because he processes all the time.
For sure. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about, which is unlike me. My brain is usually thinking of 100 different ways to approach
So you tell him you were on the Business Power Hour and you're talking with Norman and Lisa, and they suggested that I give you a call. What's he going to? The worst thing he can do is say no, and then you tell him when your time is up that you go into another networking company. That's all.
There you go.
I'll say, well, I guess I'm going to leave and go to BNI.
I guess so. I don't know if you want to go to BNI, but you could get up and go to a million other places.
Oh, there's tons out there. So what types of businesses do you work with primarily?
Primarily, we try to hit the mom and pops may be an overused phrase, but we try to use.
No, it's a good phrase.
And really work with the mom and pop, the small business.
So the folks on Main Street.
Exactly, the ones right down the street from your own home, on the main street of your small town, or not that we don't work with larger corporations. It's just harder to get through the onboarding process with them, and there's a lot of gatekeepers that you have to work through. So by the time I work with a local or a large corporation, I could have already probably signed on 2 or 3 local businesses. And that's just how much easier it is to sign on a local business versus a large corporation.
Do you do a lot of point of sale installations? Setups?
Yes. Well, we will personally install the point of sale system for you. If I can't because you're in another state, if you're not local to Jacksonville, Florida, then I will definitely make sure that you have the right support numbers. You can call me directly to get that point of sale system set up. We'll walk you through it step by step.
And what number can people reach you to call you to ask you that?
The number I mentioned before.
No, you're going to mention it again. Go ahead.
Say it again.
Yes, sir. Yeah. 205-873-5435. That's the cell number.
Slow it down and one more time.
Okay. Excuse me. 205-873-5435 is my business cell number. That's the best way to reach me directly. And then you can also go with our office number, which is 904-872-5591.
Okay, great.
Do you do a lot of, I'm sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
I was going to ask, what is a merchant account? We've been talking about it all night. Merchant accounts, we really didn't dig in and explain to everyone exactly what it is. There may be some folks on Main Street that aren't accepting credit card processing or credit cards.
I doubt that.
You doubt it, but there are some pizza
But they
shops
need better
that are still
they need
cash
better
only.
percentages. That's what they need.
Yes, they need better processes too. So what is the merchant account and how does it work?
Well, there are many different merchant banks across the country that offer merchant services. Okay, we partner with a lot of these banks that provide the processing, whereas we don't necessarily provide the processing. My firm, First Coast Merchant Services, we connect you with the one that will provide the processing and make sure that we're your representative with that bank, with that merchant processing situation. So a merchant account is an account that bank provides. Just to kind of put it as simply as possible, it's a relationship. I would say the best way to describe it, that you're getting an underwritten relationship with the bank that allows you to have the safest, most secure credit card processing available. So your payment support is completely in the hands of that merchant bank and myself as your representative, First Coast Merchant Services. And then that allows you to have the support, the bank level stability and security of encryption, that you're not worried about, will Square or will Stripe lose my banking information? They have me on a database, but I don't have any underwritten relationship with them. So that's really the difference between a merchant account and a payment aggregator like Stripe or Square. So I don't want to just pick on them. They do great. I mean, a lot of people use them, but I always recommend a merchant account because you can actually build business credit. In most situations, you can build business credit along with that.
Well, back in the beginning, when Square first started, nobody else was doing what Square did.
Right.
So
exactly.
that's why Square got as big. But now, if like say with your business, if I was a vendor and my business was flea markets and farmers markets, and I wanted to go sell my products, whatever, I would have a Square type instrument that I could just swipe. All right,
on site
and do a deal.
Yep.
Now, what are the percentages? Because they're different than actually do it. Walking into a store. What are the percentages to swipe your card, for argument's sake, in one of these farmers markets?
Well, we can give you kind of a general idea. Like I said, it's always best to run that cost savings analysis after we get your merchant statement.
Right.
But a general idea, you're swiping a card in that situation in person. So if you're looking at a flat rate, which most people understand more often because it's been pushed more than Interchange Plus, but if you're looking at a flat rate plan, you're probably looking at 2.1 to 3. In a in-person situation, you're probably looking at 2.1 to 2.5, 2.6 at the highest. But they generally run right in that little rate range for in-person transactions. So you're handing that farmer's market vendor as a customer, you're handing them your card. They're swiping that card. They're getting charged the flat rate, and they're also, the business owner or vendor is also getting charged like processing fees, which, as a side note, and it's an important thing to mention, there are programs to eliminate processing fees as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an outstanding program for that that we can talk about, if we have time. But definitely is a good thing to do. If you can eliminate those processing fees, you can save.
Why don't you tell everybody if you can do it a little bit fast? Tease somebody. Yeah, tell them.
Sure. The most common name for a program like the one I just mentioned is called cash discount, because let's say, for example, your let's say you're a convenience store owner and you have someone come to your counter and make a $15 purchase. Okay. If you're on the cash discount program, they're going to have 4% of that, which usually is a percentage that totally eliminates all your processing fees. So if you're on a 4% plan program to eliminate your fees, that cash discount program, that's going to make that total, that $15 purchase, $15.60, because 4% of $15 is 60 cents. So then that's added on at the end of the transaction. Now that there are a couple of different ways you can do cash discount, and it might vary from state to state. So I really recommend that you look at that at your own state and see what the laws are for cash discount in your state. But in most of the 50 states in the continental U.S., I know that cash discount is totally legal. There's no real restriction on it. So we offer it to all of our customers. But that in that scenario, that customer would pay $15.60. That would eliminate the processing fees for that business owner, for that convenience store owner. So then you would then be able to save as a business owner you saved as much as about $200 a month, just depending on, the business type again and how much volume they bring in. But we can save I've saved as much as 200 plus a month. And that really adds up for a business owner.
Sure.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Especially the ones on Main Street with those mom and pops and, those smaller stores.
No, those stores. Go ahead, Lisa.
I was going to ask, if a merchant has an existing point of sale system, would they be able to keep it, or would they be required to have a new system installed?
There are situations, and we always try to look at the easiest, most simple situation for the individual business owner. So if they've got a POS system and they're not happy with their rate, let's say they're not happy with what they're being charged in fees, we can use we can run that. First, we want to follow the steps I mentioned, use the statements we get from them, figure out their estimate and what their savings is going to be, offer that to them. If they like that, then we can use our processing, and I always ask if we can integrate. We always try to investigate that first, integration into a POS system, before immediately trying to replace their POS system.
Okay.
And that's the cheaper route is integration, because they're not having to worry about any equipment replacement. So
okay. And I just want to make sure, POS is a point of sale system, correct?
Correct.
Exactly. A point of sale system, yes. And we offer the point of sale systems for in-person transactions, as well as gateways and payment links that can be attached to websites, gateways that run through websites. We have partnerships with gateway providers that we can then in turn provide that specific gateway to the customer if they just do online payments. So if they're just accepting credit cards online, we can run that payment through a gateway and provide that means for them to accept credit card payments online.
Point of sale processing is very, very, very big in restaurants.
Yes.
And also
no doubt. We have a lot of
sellers.
Outstanding point of sale partners. I think of a few. You think of some of the big box names out there like Toast and Clover, and just a couple that come to mind. But they're out there, and they've got the big marketing pushing them. But if you're not educated, you think they're the only game in town, right? So that's what we want to try to educate the people to know, is that there are all kind of excellent POS systems out there, and we offer a great many of the alternatives to some of the bigger, more well-known ones. And these alternatives work just as well, are just as efficient, and probably come with a lower price tag. As a matter of fact, we just partnered with Clover. So it's great for restaurants. You see Clover in a lot of restaurants. So we did just partner with Clover, but we can offer that under our pricing versus what Clover processing may have.
Well, with Clover, you're also buying the name Clover. because it's a well-known name, and there's no reason to go and do something like that. There are so many companies like yours that do the same, if not better, than Clover does.
Right.
So let's go back to Main Street for a second. So we're on Main Street, and since COVID, you're allowed to, if you're a restaurant or any other business, and you're paying 3%, you can pass that on, if not more, to your incoming customer. Now, are you really allowed, if I'm paying 3% to you and I want to get my 3% back, am I allowed to charge 6 or 7 or 10%? I'm in a restaurant and I get my bill. And restaurants are notorious for this, and they will charge you an extra percentage.
18%, some are doing now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is there a law against that where they can do that, or they can charge anything they want if you're willing to pay for it?
It's not ethical. I don't know of a law off the top of my head. My memory may be failing me, but it's definitely not ethical. But I mean, what you're looking at, the whole idea is of the cash discount program is to benefit, the merchant, the business owner, because they're trying to recoup their processing fees, right? They would be charged.
I understand that. I mean, I can live with that. I can't live with you being a pig.
I understand. That's out of our control, unfortunately. I wish I could say that no one did that, but we do run into that from time to time.
Lisa just mentioned 18%, so obviously she was in a place where she was paying a bill and they were charging her an extra. That's not even the tip. That's just
no, that's not even the tip. And that was for one person in the party or more. They're charging a surcharge on this restaurant. They made it to the news. That's how I know about them.
Was this in Philly, in Pennsylvania somewhere?
I think it was. I'm not sure what state.
Was that?
Might have been New York.
I was trying to think. I heard a story. Like you, Lisa, I'm having trouble remembering, but I did hear a similar story. So I know that happens, and I do run into it personally quite a bit, where I hear that, and I try to discourage anybody from doing that. I think any good merchant service firm or payments provider would try to discourage a merchant from doing that. We don't have control over what they do with their business, but we would definitely try to discourage that because it could end up looking bad on us, like we had something to do with it.
Right.
When we don't have anything to do with it at all, other than just offering the cash discount program. And one side note on cash discount, it's now referred to as dual pricing because Visa just totally kind of revamped the terminology and the way that it's done on their receipts. So Visa is requiring that any receipts printed out used by Visa cards have both the cash price and the card price on that individual receipt.
Well, then MasterCard's going to follow right along, right?
Oh, yeah, yes, sir. That was exactly what I was about to say. They've already done that. They were already falling in line.
And the story was out of California. A Vietnamese restaurant is charging an 18% service charge for parties of one or larger.
That's insane.
It's insanity is right.
Unfortunately, they can pretty well charge what they want. They can add any additional. I mean, it may vary from state to state. I can't speak on every state and what their laws are, but I can definitely say that it is very shady, and I would not want to have anything to do with a merchant who is doing that. If they're already my client, I'm going to discourage them from doing that.
What kind of restaurant was that anyway? What did you say?
Vietnamese restaurant in California.
I don't like Vietnamese food anyway, so I'm never going there.
You're okay.
I'm not going.
All right.
There.
So
no, I mean, you look like a Vietnamese food lover. I would have paid you for that right away.
So Joshua, what challenges do you have as a local privately owned merchant service provider?
Our challenges are educating the public because everyone is so quick to make the jump to a Google search. Everyone wants it now, that they don't take the time to inquire if, look, maybe I have someone in my backyard that would be a great asset to my business. And maybe I have a partner under my own nose that I don't even realize, that I don't know is there. Instead of jumping quickly to that Google search that has the big box brands like Toast, Clover, some of the
you
other
got to
ones I
scale
mentioned.
down and look what's on the bottom.
Exactly. Jump down, move that cursor down.
Yep.
Look at some of the lower ranking. Just because they're lower ranking, it may have nothing to do with the quality.
Of course
it may
not.
all just have to do with their marketing budget, you know,
And the
they
better
don't have
pricing.
the pricing, exactly.
We're
So,
getting
inquire with your local, maybe another business owner. See if they know of any local merchant service firm there in your own hometown. Getting the word out is the biggest challenge with being a small business-based merchant service firm and payments representative. That's really the challenge, is letting people know you're there for them and not jumping, encouraging them not to jump to that big box brand, because we know your community, we know where you live, we're part of your community. We're going to encourage you to keep that money in town, right? Keep your all the funds and your proceeds with local businesses, because that's how our economy grows, as a local community is working together and supporting each other. We know the hashtag support local. It's really it's not just a hashtag. It's should be a real frame.
It's a
of
movement.
mind.
Yep, it's a movement.
Right.
It's a movement.
We're
now.
almost at the end of the hour, believe it or not. I want to just do one last thing. I want to know how you can help Lisa with her business and vice versa. Because there's definitely got to be something in between what the two of you do. There's got to be something that you can help each other with.
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, at least it was telling me about what she does with the ERC. What was the other aspect of your business, Lisa?
Well, I do unsecured lending. So when business owners need capital, I can help folks that haven't even made their first dollar yet. We can help them get business credit built, improve their personal credit, and get them lines of credit at very affordable rates. So it's a great tool to have, especially for your small business owners, and to work on getting them that capital without having to take on merchant cash advances and those expensive products that I'm sure you probably have in your forte that you're offering some of these small guys.
And you, Josh, you have the clients that she can go and help. So that works great when you're making your presentation to someone to take your service, or you're just stopping into an existing client to see how things are going. You can offset and you can help each other doing that.
Exactly. I have referral partners that I do that with quite a bit. Lisa, your business is prime example of the perfect referral partner. And I'd love to talk with you if we, maybe after this is over.
We'll have to set up a call and make something happen.
For sure.
And on that note, Josh, I want to thank you very, very much for being on the Business Power Hour tonight. You really did a great job. You really did a good job.
That's what the hour.
And I said it last night,
welcome.
and I say it there is so much more that we learn, from our networking members when they're on this particular show versus just on, and it just makes sense because we're here for an hour. Yeah. And you can talk about your life, your business life here for 1 hour. You want to talk personal life, that's another show for another time. But the business show is about creating the awareness for people to get in touch with you.
Right.
All right. And that's all we do. And if you know anybody that would like to be on the Business Power Hour, give me a call, let me know. And if any of you out there have any friends or family or business associates that you think that we could help and create awareness and branding for your business, 631-698-9696. That's 631-698-9696. Wish everybody a great weekend. Stay safe. We're going to have big storms this weekend here on the East Coast. So, but stay safe. And I'm going home and watch the Giants.
All right. Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye. The Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man is sponsored by Media Stations. Create your own media and have your own station. To get started with your own content, call or text 516-448-2066. That's Media Stations in Bohemia, New York.